In a world where the podcast multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little, two dudes must become something greater than themselves, something elemental, something terrifying, a podcast. With great podcasting, there must also be great responsibility. To show the multiverse that it's full of people ready to believe in good. The multiverse will hunt us. They will send the dogs on us, because that's what needs to happen. But it won't be ready to hear from us. Not us, united.
What if we had a normal start to a podcast?
Yeah, that sounds good.
What if we just said, "Hello, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah.
My name is Michael.
And I'm Nick.
And we have a podcast
Called Not Us United.
Whoa.
We've never actually done that before where we kind of volley. I like that.
Volleyball?
Well,
I know how to set. I know how to spike.
Yeah. You've watched... No, you haven't watched Top Gun.
I've not watched original Top Gun.
You need to watch that for some moves.
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
But you learned some moves in Maverick, though.
Yeah. I learned something in Maverick. Offense and defense or something.
Offense and defense.
But we are Not Us United.
That was
We
correct.
are a podcast that exists to, have people see cinema a little differently.
That's
We
right.
find the good and the bad and the weird and everything about movies, and we just like to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we're happy that you came to join us today.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear from us, Not Us United.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
We've been on a little bit of a respite.
Yeah.
We took a couple weeks off, which I think was actually, needed. It was good.
I think so. It was good.
Nice to get a little rest. But we're gearing up for some pretty big stuff coming your way. So
It's good to be back.
yeah, I'm excited. We're about to wrap up season 2. We've only got this episode and 2 more, and then we're gonna launch season 3. We also celebrated this is part of the reason why we took a break too, was we are officially over a year old.
Yeah.
Not Us United has existed
We
for
are
over
a
year.
child.
We are at least a 1-year-old little baby.
We can maybe walk.
We
Can still
are
crawl.
thinking about
We're
it.
thinking about
We're
it.
thinking
We're
about it.
really close.
We've probably got a teeth.
Yeah.
A teeth.
A teeth.
A teeth.
A singular teeth.
Yep.
A
Tooth.
or two tooths.
2 tooths. Yep. But yeah, we're there.
Yeah. Nick, it's supposed to be called a teeth brush, right? Think about it.
No.
I'm going to go get my toothbrush and brush my teeth. That doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
So it should be called a teeth brush.
But it can only brush 1 tooth at a time.
I don't know. You see all these bristles that they got on?
Yeah.
You see the
but
technology that dentists are coming up with?
It really can only truly clean a tooth.
No.
It's a brush for a tooth.
You're brushing
You just
your
happen
teeth
to have a
wrong.
mouthful of teeth.
Yeah, but I can brush two teeth. Why does that sound so
I can
braggy?
easily get 2
Why does
teeth
that
with my
sound-
toothbrush. All right, guy. You can call it teeth brush. That's fine.
Yeah, but then I'm an idiot.
Why are we talking about it? I'm fine either way. To each their own.
You just said we were just making fun of teeth and tooths.
That's true. I did say teeth. Why don't you tell the people?
No, hold on. It should also be called teeth paste. Anyway.
Teeth paste. I digress.
Anyways, let's.
That's
Nick,
an interesting fact.
Nick, stop diverging us.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We weren't recording for the last 10 minutes when we were dropping some just absolute
Gold
nuggets
mines.
of just
But
gold.
this-
But you know what is gonna in on this? Teeth brush, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what you get. I'm sorry. This is out of the top 5
The stuff
things.
we were saying was way too in joke you for audience members.
Oh, well.
You think?
Yeah.
You think that masters would like what we just talked about? But teeth brush? That's what.
Teeth brush does land.
That's what-
You're right. That's the safe bet. That's the safe bet for our audience. I love it.
Oh man. Anyways, if you're a true fan, next time you see us, say teeth brush.
Yeah.
Or teeth paste.
Teeth paste. Please transition out of this, Michael.
Anyways, you know what's better than toothpaste? You know what's better than this joke that we said?
Yeah.
Watching television.
Yeah, television's great.
And you know what I like about television? Is that I can watch...
It was a rhetorical question, I guess.
I can watch multiple episodes of something.
Yeah. You like gave me enough of a pause to enter, but then you just went, so I'm just like, Continue.
And then you know what else? What kind of streaming service has been really hot right now? Pause.
All of them, but are you looking for? I'll help you out. Disney Plus.
Oh, Nick. Nick, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, this week we're gonna review the latest show. 6 show episode things.
Yeah.
From Disney Plus.
6 teeth, if you will.
6 teeth worth of episodes.
Yes, exactly. You're gonna need more than one toothbrush for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Of 6 episodes
of the show Obi-Wan Kenobi, starring Mr. Obi-Wan Kenobi from La Star Wars.
La Star Wars, that's right. Yeah, this was the most excited I've been for a Star Wars show. Ironically, I've been a very, let's not do old characters, let's just do new stuff. But the idea of Ewan McGregor coming back, who I think was, if not the best character of the prequels,
one of,
has to be top 3.
I mean, I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to say that he was probably one of the saving graces of the prequels.
For sure, yeah. And so I was obviously excited to see him come back. But it would be tackling the time between episodes 3 and 4. Yeah. Which is an interesting time. How does he become the hermit we know him as when he is kind of the Ben Kenobi of episode 4. So Benjamin Kenobi.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's what they call him. And so I was very excited. I feel like Mandalorian has been fun to watch. It's very
it's a little removed.
It's removed and very side questy of
until season 2.
Yeah. But it's fun because that's kind of great. I have just no ties to any of this. Let's just explore that planet. Let's explore that. And I think that Disney really needs to do a lot more of that. Yeah, for sure. But was very excited to revisit at least this character if I was going to revisit one.
I 100% agree. I'm very much of, I would like to see other stuff that material has not really touched. Yeah. Like a Knights of the Old Republic, or kind of figuring out what happened between 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. We don't have a lot of stuff that's 6 and 7. There's a big gap there. Whatever. I mean, and
yeah, each have at least 20 to 30 years between them.
Something like that.
Yeah. Obviously, 3 and 4 are it's 18.
Yeah, because
it's whatever Luke is.
Yeah. 16 or something in the but if there is any character that I think anyone, especially having Ewan McGregor back,
if there's a safe bet,
it is 100% Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, agreed.
So I was also excited for this show. Yes. Now you have not seen Boba Fett.
I have not watched the book of Boba Fett.
Not tying to this at all, but you've seen, of the Star Wars shows, you've seen
both seasons of Mandalorian,
and that's it.
Yeah. I have been really wanting to watch Visions as
well. I agree.
Well.
Yeah, I have not seen,
but I haven't. But the anime version of Star Wars sounds pretty beast.
That's been on my radar. I'm gonna watch that, and then I do something else.
Especially with all of the samurai stuff that exists kind of in Star Wars. I mean, the inspiration
Lucas
of that.
Was a Akira Kurosawa fan,
right? And so I think to see that type of inspiration get brought to life, because some of the characters and armor and all the stuff that gets to take place in anime just looks a lot cooler than it can when it's somebody has to physically wear it in real life. So I definitely want to check that out. But yeah, that and the Book of Boba Fett just kind of came out at a cold time where I was And I also felt like The Mandalorian was kind of like the Boba Fett that had a story.
Yeah.
So then when they brought Boba Fett back in, I'm kind of like, oh, I feel like I already follow a Mandalorian who's kind of doing what you're doing.
It's weird. I was pretty lukewarm on Boba Fett.
After watching it, or going into it?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Maybe going into
like
it.
Like Luke Skywalker warm, or
no, like guys, got him. Anyway. I can't even think of a comeback. It's too good.
Sorry, little dad joke for you there.
More like Ocean Mountain Glider. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that one works too.
All right, toothbrush or whatever.
Yeah, toothbrush. Back to
it. So going into Kenobi, I think we both had, I would say, higher expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no spoilers, but tell me just basic thoughts of what you went through. Maybe like the first few episodes.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a bone to pick with Disney. I do feel like they are ride or die on this formula they have figured out. Granted, Mandalorian was like 8 episodes a season. They just have this way of like having the first 2 episodes really not do anything no matter what.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like it's always... It's just like foundation building, but even sometimes it doesn't necessarily pay off in the end anyway. And I do feel like Kenobi is no different. I think he still suffers from like 2 episodes of kind of just meh.
Yeah.
And then episode 3 is when things kind of like start to take off. And I get it. You can't just have action. But when you're going to forego not making a movie to explore it,
as the original plan was.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I just feel like Disney could do either or. So when they choose the method of, let's do 6 hours with him instead of 2 hours with him, that's fine. But what are those 4 other hours going to be?
Yes.
And so I feel like sometimes they like waste the first 2 hours sometimes, or it's just not quite like...
It's fine.
Yeah. It feels like it's missing something. And I feel like this is not... It unfortunately still dealt with some of that for me.
Yeah. I would agree mildly. I enjoyed some of the things that they introduced. I thought it was good. I thought it was fine. I liked seeing that. I'm more concerned about there's some moments where I'm like, that's weird to do that. And I don't think it's staged very well. And just how this connects overall with what we're going towards in episode 4. I think they're stuck between a rock and a beggar's canyon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you create a show that's interesting with a character that doesn't really have a lot to do, maybe?
Yeah. And who can't die, for sure.
Yeah, and who can't die, and what's he gonna interact with, and who he's gonna interact with, and how do we give purpose to this character?
Yeah.
I think they do a lot of stuff well in this.
Yep.
But I think, I just think it wasn't it. I don't think. For me, I liked it.
Yeah.
But I almost see wasted potential for some of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
It's not a bad show.
No, but this falls into, again, be really careful dropping into the already established story, because you either have to tell an incredible story like Rogue One, where it just you hit on all cylinders. Unfortunately, everyone's gonna have to die in that movie because they can't exist after this, because you can't just interject like
10 new characters,
20 people and be like, haha, just don't worry about it.
They weren't there.
And I get it, it's a big galaxy, whatever. The scary thing with Obi-Wan, though, is this whole thing is to protect the Skywalkers, the children that are like about to become the main characters of the original trilogy. So it's like, okay, you either need to get him off planet and just do something so unrelated that it's fine. Or if you're gonna dabble with them, you gotta just be really careful that you don't like mess with something.
Yeah.
And I think in that regard, anything with Obi-Wan is solid.
In the show?
In the show.
Okay.
I think most of his story and stuff makes sense. We'll get into
Other stuff.
what I think. I think the ending has some very excellent highs that are still there's one scene in particular that I would say is that's pretty top tier Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then but the rest of it is middle of the pack, and then some of it's forgettable.
Yeah.
And so I think for the whole, the show probably comes off as slightly disappointing.
Yeah.
For me.
I honestly think if you cut this down to a 2.5 hour movie and I watched this in theaters, especially that last episode,
yep,
I would think this might be top 4.
Yep.
Absolutely. Star Wars movies.
Yeah. They made the wrong call actually for the first time to actually do a TV show instead of a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Just no spoilers. But generally, I think you brought this point up, but the show doesn't look the best in points. I really do enjoy how the lightsabers look and feel.
Lightsabers are great.
I think they have a weight to them. I think they have a nice color to them. They seem brighter. They seem more defying.
It was a lot darker when they used them too.
And so they were more shadowy. They were more casting of their light. And I thought that was a really interesting choice.
It's dope.
So like that a lot. I think a lot of the staging is not great. I think this is where we actually see some of the flaws of the room they use. It's a special. What's it called? It's
is it called the Vision, or is
it
the
like
volume?
That. The volume. That's
the volume,
it.
Yeah.
The volume. It's so if you don't know, it's this is what they shot all of Mandalorian and Boba Fett on. It's this big room
it's a dome.
It's a dome, and instead of having green screen, they have pre-rendered backgrounds, and so you can have Tatooine on the background.
Creates a set.
So it's really cool. It's a great idea to have things for the actors to interact with, but the set is the size of the room, and so you can't really move so much. And so some of this, especially I think in this show, it felt here's 10 feet that we're working with, and we're kind of trying to maneuver around that. And
even
that's
though we're trying to project that we're in a desert or something. Yeah. Fair enough.
Or we're in a room with a bunch of people and no one can hit anything.
Yeah, there was one in particular scene where there's just a lot of stormtroopers in a formation, and they're kind of in a cave, and I was wow, this looks like they're in a room with a light right above them.
Yeah.
Because they all have this the glow of the light on their helmets, but they're in a cave and the sun is behind them. And it's this looks weird.
Yeah.
This looks like a stage.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is weird.
That scene threw me off as well.
Yeah.
And we can get to more of that. But I think overall, I don't even know if I could say disappointed. I just think good. And the stuff that we got, particularly between an interaction with him and somebody else, I thought was really good.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I think there was good character development of how Kenobi would feel after failing. And I think they handle his PTSD very well.
Yes.
I think that is the best part of the show.
Yeah.
And his struggle with that, I think is very good.
Yeah.
A lot of the other stuff, not so much. So.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor came to play.
Oh yeah.
There's no question about that. He showed up and he's hey, I'm actually gonna act and do some dope stuff.
He was on set and he said, "Hello there."
Hello there.
Yeah.
He does. This is a spoiler, but it is in the show.
Yeah, barely.
Just barely, but it is in the show. He does actually fan service us a little bit. I think again, I'll say, is just Obi-Wan scenes. Yes. If it involves another character and it's only focused on them without Kenobi being involved, not really a fan. I just feel they were just needed to make this 6 episodes instead of even just a 2-parter limited series or something. It didn't need to be as long as it was.
Yeah.
And so some of it just feels okay, so Obi-Wan's probably ready to enter the finale, but we're at episode 4. So let's just show you some other characters and try to give you a reason to care about them. And it's it's called Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't really care about the non-Obi-Wan Kenobi characters so much. And I know that can be like, I'm not saying that there can't be other good characters involved, because there are some like fun like cameos and other things like that, but I don't know. I think that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, we can get into the nitty-gritty of that particularly. I think some of the characters they introduced were good. I don't think they were bad. I just think they were buying time for a lot of stuff.
Correct.
If you wanted to throw a rating on this, what would you give it?
I'm sitting probably at like a 6.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yep.
I'm sitting at a 7, so
okay,
a little higher than you.
Okay. You have the high ground. It's over.
It's over, Nick. I have the higher score of a show that you didn't care for that much.
Don't underestimate my review.
All right. Well, we will be heading into a spoiler review of the newest show, Kenobi. So be forewarned.
Yes.
I think. Where do we want to start? Do you want to start with kind of the beginning of like what's like kind of just slow?
Yeah, maybe we would just tackle kind of like episodes 1 through like 3-ish.
Sure, that sounds good. I like that.
6-ish or a little bit.
I wasn't disappointed with what they were doing. I like when Kenobi was cutting up that whale and he fought a little bit of the whale.
That was cool. Like, and I really enjoyed that scene. But I was gonna tell you, I was like, but that was one of those that also kind of just led nowhere. Like there was a lot of effort put into this really intricate. Like he still cares for his. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of some world building, but it also felt like we spent a few too many scenes there to be like, oh, and then it just doesn't do anything. But
because at the end of the first one, he goes onto the ship, right? And he's like, I'm gonna go get Leia. That's the end of the first one.
I don't even know if that is that at the end of the first one.
Because then the second one is him on the planet getting her.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then the third is something. Anyways,
the third is his interaction, his first encounter with
Vader.
Mr. Vader.
Mr. the Vader.
Mm-hmm. That's when the fire and all that.
Oh, yeah. See, that you could probably cut out.
What?
Vader stuff, part 1.
Well, that's the thing. Like, some people would say that episode 3 was when it finally got good.
I don't know. I feel like, I think maybe, I don't know. I just don't know what.
It was very cat and mouse, but you knew that it was never going to conclude until episode 6.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm like, I know, and I liked when Vader like put him on fire, and like that was cool, revenge, and he's like, I want you to burn like I did. That was like cool, and that interaction is like when and at the end of episode 2 when he finds out like, oh, it's Anakin's still alive, and that moment of shock that he feels, and that acting of his where he just like feels this gravitas is great. It's genuinely great.
Yep.
I just think you condense that to a first act, and you're good.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to think. I don't know like what I would have done story-wise differently, but I think they were so trapped in the timeline that like, all right, let's get Leia in here or Luke or whatever. I guess I thought this was going to go more the Luke route than the Leia route. I'm kind of cool with the Leia route actually because like there needs to be some reason why she knows him and like needs to go to him at some point.
And I don't think no one can know he's on Tatooine.
Sure.
So it can't be Luke.
Right. No, that makes sense. In retrospect, that checks out. But like the trailer just gave off that like, oh, I'm looking over Luke, and I'm like, oh yeah, but then the real show is that he's looking after Leia.
Yeah. Thoughts about that? Like you enjoyed it?
Yes. I just think that puts a lot of weight and pressure on a 10-year-old to then be the second actor in the show.
I thought she did good.
I thought she did fine too, but I think like, again, this is where it suffered. Most of these episodes are, oh no, Leia, I'm here to save you. Leia runs away. Leia, don't run away. Okay, then Leia gets in trouble. And then it's like, Leia, you gotta like, and some of it's not her fault. Some of it she just keeps getting stolen, but it just feels like there was like 4 episodes of him having to go get Leia. Yeah. And it's just like, okay. Like,
yeah, I think you cut a lot of that out. Like, you don't go to the underwater base and get her again.
Right.
It's like you cut that out. You have a fight with Vader. you run away, do something else, and then you come back for the big fight.
Yeah, I never thought I would say that 6 episodes was too much in any show, but if for some reason just felt like it was way too much for this, or they just needed to have a way better, more intricate plot that required that many.
Like, it was fine. I think it was fine, and that's okay. But like, I feel there was room to improve. I think one of the negatives for the volume, this space that they're filming in, was particularly with the chase scene in the first episode where they're trying to get Leia.
Oh yeah, and the guy just runs into a branch and just like
stops.
Pauses.
He's like, "Oh no, I can't do this."
Worst chase scene ever.
So it's like, it's literally, it's the worst thing I've seen on camera.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how can that be in this show? But then also like and then the stuff they're doing with Kenobi is so great. But then like, that looks so odd. We talked about the first Vader fight scene, and they just kind of like walk away. And then it's fine, and Vader's like, "Oh, okay, I'll see you later."
Yep.
And there's a lot of that in this show where it's like people just stop.
Yep.
And we're like, you know what? You got away.
Or they'll like damage you to the point where they're like, clearly they're probably going to die a couple hours from now.
Yeah.
See you later. And it's like, maybe just wait just a little bit. Yeah, no, there was some logic stuff that's hard, and they don't really do the best to like explain like, oh, it's the dark side that clouds your arrogance. It's like, that's just stupidity. Like, that's not even like.
I know the scene you're talking about, but like the end of the third one, Obi-Wan just walks away and he's wounded, and Vader's like,
oh no, this fire has stopped me. It's like, you could jump over that, I'm sure.
Yeah, or like go around it. It's just like in the base of this canyon. It's just like, I don't know. There's little stuff like that where it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. And I think maybe, I'm not like tooting our horns or anything, but it's just like, are we being overly critical of something that shouldn't be? Or is that just like, to the masses, they're like, yeah, that checks out. It's just like, I don't know. Like, that's like an odd thing to do, where it's like the villain has you on the ropes and then just goes, next time. Like, that just felt very like kid show.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, and I get it, Star Wars, but it's just like Vader has a chance to finally seek revenge. And then you just like,
and he's so bent on it. Like that that's the button. So he's like, I'm gonna follow him. And then he's like, anyways. Got him. I think another flaw, or like, this has a similar flaw to what happened in like the Clone Wars show, where like you couldn't kill Grievous and you couldn't kill Dooku, and so a lot of the time it was Grievous fighting, and then he goes out on an escape pod.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, that can only happen so many times.
Yep. Exactly.
So
for sure.
Yeah, that felt a little bit here. Let's talk about Reva.
Yes, let's do that. Third sister.
I'm
not familiar with the Inquisitors that much. The only exposure I've had to them is the Fallen Order video game, which is kind of cool because the underwater
base
is actually a tie-in to the video game, which is kind of neat.
Which felt, sorry to jump in, but like,
no, please,
to go there again and have a break-in and
it's weird.
Why are we doing this again?
Yeah, it's like, if you've done the thing with Star Wars already, why are we doing it again? But for those who haven't, they're not even going to appreciate it because they don't even know why this base is underwater to begin with. So like, it's like those who can appreciate the reference, it also just feels like, oh, okay, so that's just the Fallen Order episode.
Yeah.
I got it. Like, there's just some weird stuff that took place in this show where I'm just like, oh man, like, you guys had the best actor. And I get it. You're kind of in between two, like, really crisp, like, clear, like, you got to be careful of what you do. I just don't know if this was it, you know? But they had to make sure that, like, all of the right buttons were pressed for merchandise, for references to tie-ins and all the things where it's like you said, the underwater episode probably didn't need to exist, but because it did, now there's a tie into a video game. Now there's and more Inquisitor stuff. And so I think it was just like kind of forced connective tissue.
Yeah.
That just doesn't always have to be there. You know? It's okay if you don't connect everything.
Yeah. But Inquisitors, they got a lot of playing Rebels, which is a show I haven't seen all of, but the guy with the lines on his face.
Yes, the Grand Inquisitor.
The Grand Inquisitor, who lives.
He does.
So when he's stabbed, you're like, I guess he still lives.
Yes. That's a rough one to... Yeah. Like, anytime anyone's been stabbed with a lightsaber, they die. You can get your limbs chopped off. I mean, that's obviously a very popular thing in Star Wars as well. But when it's a slash, you're fine. A poke all the way through your body, a la like Qui-Gon Jinn, dies.
Yes.
Instantly.
But
revenge
fuels you or something.
I don't know. And it's fine to some degree, but it happens twice. In this show. Like, twice people get stabbed right through the chest and just are like, it's like, no, they're like, there's no more rib cage. There's no more whatever.
It cauterizes the wound and you're fine.
Whatever.
Like, that's the issue.
Yeah, but organs. Like, but it doesn't matter if it cauterizes a half of a heart. Like, it's not working.
I know,
anymore.
but if you stab like this one portion of your your stomach, you're I guess okay.
Yeah, it just happens to be that both these very skilled lightsaber wielders,
one of them arguably the best ever,
chose to stab you so strategically, not lethally, that you and I'm really trying not to be like the toxic like Star Wars, like, did you watch the lightsaber fight? It's trash. They all just stand there, and then this one guy, like, finally attacks.
Yeah, this is different.
This is actually, like, what are we doing? Like, you have to make it work. Have them chop off an arm, and then leave. But I think they tried to use the stab as, like, clearly that was a lethal blow, so the bad guys will leave. So now we have a chance to watch the person not die.
Yeah.
It's just like, damn.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so one of the persons that got stabbed, Reva.
Yes.
I did enjoy her character. I liked that she was this youngling, and then her revenge on Vader. I thought that was a great storyline.
That's cool.
I thought that was really, really cool. I liked her character. I liked the actor a lot. I know you were saying that was one of the like peripheral storylines you maybe didn't care for.
So they had to figure out how to draw Kenobi out.
Yes.
And I get that. I totally get that. Her story gets kind of like, so it's like kind of confusing. Because she's very hateful and like very like Sith-like. But then we find out that she's not actually trying to be a Sith at all. She's really just trying to be in like not a spy, but like a double agent to go after Vader because she was one of the younglings that had previously been stabbed.
Oh my gosh, there's three
stabbings. Yeah. and what makes matters worse is that Vader remembers her.
Yeah.
He's like, you thought I forgot about you, youngling. It's like, so now you're implying that you kept her alive. I don't know. Anyway.
You knew that she wouldn't?
Weird.
Yeah.
Super weird. It was just another cool way to have Hayden Christensen be in the show.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Very cool scene.
So I think for her, like, it just was so, like, I just didn't connect with it perfectly where I was like, why would you, because she was, like, totally in on killing, like, innocent people.
Yeah.
Like, she was kind of doing Sith stuff.
Yeah.
Like, she was an Inquisitor, but it was all kind of for good. But then she wanted to... I still don't truly connect the dots on why, if we want to go ahead and jump into the later episodes.
Sure, let's just do it.
Why her story led her to have to go after Luke.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think...
The only thing I could think of was if she can't kill Vader, she could at least kill his kid.
But, like, does she know it's his kid?
Was that what the transmission was showing her?
No, I don't think so, because it was broken up. The message was, did he find about the children? It's like... Oh,
so now he has kids, so I guess I go kill them now? That
jump didn't make.
So that's where I'm like, cool, tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't stick the landing, I'm just like, what was the point? Like, just draw him out a different way if you're not going... Like, I just felt like her character... I will say, it led... I think it was trying to force another person who could have gone to the dark side for Kenobi to be like, your path can still be to the good.
Yeah.
So like he still gets to like not Anakin Skywalker her.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit of a stretch to get there.
I think it's all just about like, oh, revenge and what fuels you. And she was just her turn to the dark side, and then she ultimately becomes like, oh, she lets it go, and I think that's good. I just think the jump from her getting stabbed to going after Luke is not connected.
Yeah.
It's not connected very well, and I didn't really care for Beru and Owen being like, now it's time to fight this extremely powerful Sith with 2 guns. But we surprised her. So therefore, we don't die. Yeah. And so I didn't like a lot of the stuff that was going on at the end with Tatooine. I thought it was very poorly done.
Which sucks because like the finale has so many cool things happening with Vader and Obi-Wan where I'm like,
oh, this is it.
Damn.
And then it cuts and you're like, I do not care what's happening.
Yeah, and so it's just so like ice and like fire.
It is equally it is Game of Thrones, a Song of Fire and Ice, am I right? Yeah. It's equally somehow the worst stuff in the show. No, I don't want to say the worst stuff. Just like the
most like inconsistent. Yeah. Or at least like not more confusing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, so I when she got stabbed, I'm like, oh man, I hate that we killed this character because I legitimately enjoyed her character.
And it was a good way to use that scene of the younglings because the show actually starts with the youngling scene.
Good,
like
good shots.
Yeah. So you're just like, oh wow. And so it was like, is Hayden Christensen only going to be in flashbacks, or is there going to be more to this or whatever? And so when I first saw that, I was like, interesting. So it's probably just going to be a lot of flashbacks. But it was meant to just prime us for, hey, maybe there was a kid who lived, which made sense.
Yeah.
In the end. So I think that was fine.
I agree.
It felt a little reachy to me where it was like, we got to just get Kenobi to do something so we can make a show with Ewan McGregor. Yeah. And it's going to be dope because we figured out 3 scenes that are going to pop off. Yeah. Now let's figure out 6 episodes. Yeah. It's like, dang.
Yeah.
Just felt a little half-baked.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Before we go to the big Kenobi fight, the scene that I thought was just so frustrating to me was the scene where they're getting attacked in the cave, and there's literally 100 stormtroopers, and there's like maybe 6 rebels.
Yep.
And like 20 stormtroopers die, and like 1 rebel dies.
Correct.
And I'm like, yeah, I get it.
They can't shoot.
Yeah, ha ha ha. It's so funny, but they're like 6 feet away from each other.
Yep. Yep.
And nothing's happening.
Correct.
They're like, but it's really frustrating. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
And I think, like you said, I think the staging of it just feels very like we are in a small room with a cave projected on the back of our thing. No one moved.
Yeah, that's where it felt the most confined, and that was the limiting factor.
Yep.
Bummer. So. Yeah, and to go from like, Kenobi has to sacrifice himself, but he didn't sacrifice himself because he's bringing Reva in, and then Reva's gonna get Vader, but then they leave, but then they're also being chased still because then they didn't get away, so it's Kenobi has to sacrifice himself and go. Yeah,
they were really just having us take it on faith to be like, he still knows the tricks that Anakin. His like demeanor is going to get the best of him, and then we're kind of like, haha, correct, Ben Kenobi was right again. And now he's frustrated, and then all that stuff. I think it just kind of felt like we beat a dead horse a few too many times, and then we got to a part where there was no dead horse. It was just this dope scene, and then the show ends. But so the big thing that I want to chat about obviously is the final. I wouldn't call it a duel of fates, but it was a duel of sorts.
A duel of bunch of rocks.
Definitely not a fiery planet this time around.
The exact opposite.
What is it? Wasn't it called something like I forget what they fought on, but it was just like a moon, wasn't it?
Yeah, just some random whatever.
Anyway. But I do think they need to they deserve the credit for this scene. I mean, this was the scene that I think the
show was based off of.
Yeah, this was the sales pitch of like, hey, we could probably have them meet one time before, like, A New Hope.
And we could get by with it, yeah.
And it's probably okay. I mean, it's still a little slippery slope because they do meet, and it kind of feels like they haven't met since episode 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of feels like that was the energy of A New Hope. But you get 2 really cool parts of this fight. One is you get a part where Obi-Wan gets not a lethal blow, but a blow that takes off half of Darth Vader's helmet. Okay. Now, this is where Michael and Nick are both fanboying and just like, hey, I love this. Cool. There's a lot of metaphors with this. There's a lot of symbolism with this. There's a lot of cool stuff. You finally get to see Hayden Christensen kind of behind the mask. In the suit, it's like, it's true. But there's also this level of his voice is kind of coming through, and it's not James Earl Jones. So that was really cool. Yeah. Because it's like this one last glimpse.
For Kenobi,
For Kenobi to see, like, Anakin before it's, like, gone
this guy's
forever.
Gone. He's been killed.
And so you hear the voice and all that jazz. But the part that I really like was he frees Obi-Wan of his burden for the entire episode, or the entire series, which was, you didn't fail me. Or, like, you're not the reason, or what was it? What did he say?
You didn't kill, or
that part, but the part was like, I'm not your failure, Kenobi. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, well, that's the whole reason to make this show, because that's one of the most iconic lines I can think of from Star Wars history ever. That was badass. That was so cool. I loved it so much.
Dang, let's go.
I love that part. I was like, okay, that's all 6 points. That's just all
the
of
show.
It. That's just all 6 points right there. What did you think of the fight? And then I have a few more things to say about it, but go
ahead. I loved it. I think one of the points you're going to bring up is it's a little silly that Vader follows him to this planet, and then he, like, puts him down this cavern, and he's like, anyways, done, revenge, I did it, and walks away. And then Kenobi is like, the Force. Great lightsaber work, great choreography, and the reflection of, like, the training montage of them. I thought that was really interesting, where we got that flashback with Coruscant.
Right.
Loved Hayden Christensen in this. He did great. And this last revealing part of his face and the mask, and it's so well done. It is the peak of this show.
Yeah, it was awesome.
100%.
I loved too that, like, Obi-Wan got part of the mask off, but it took Luke to get the whole mask off by the end of the original trilogy.
Whoa, well done.
Like, thank you. I enjoyed, like, you got to see a glimpse, and there was kind of this, like, a little bit of hope of, like, he's not just behind the mask. Like, there's still a person there. And then he kind of doubles down and is like, but there's almost this, like, level of sadness in what he's saying. Like, I couldn't let Anakin live. It's too sad to be Anakin. I have to only be Darth Vader. Like, he kind of was saying, like, I didn't not make a mistake. Like, I kind of did. But I'm too far in. Why would I stop?
Yeah.
But the next time his face will ever be revealed is when he's finally, like, redeemed, you know, kind of. And so I thought it was kind of this cool, like, foreshadow slash set the stage for, like, a cool redemption arc a little
100%. Bit. Yeah, so. that was the meat of this show, and the dynamic between him and Vader. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah, from the second episode where it's like, Anakin's alive, and then, like, the shot in the back to tank, and it's like, just like the weight of that, and, like, the weight that Obi-Wan has had, after failing, after thinking that he killed his apprentice, to ultimately realizing, he is this evil thing. Is there still, like, this is my fault? And ultimately be like, you know what, like he chose this, and you know I did what I could.
Yeah.
Was really good. I think becoming Obi-Wan, starting this show, this broken man, and becoming a little bit this more like I don't know, a higher standard of what he is. Like, I wouldn't say like to the point of like Alec Guinness Obi-Wan was like, the best version of Obi-Wan is him. But in a way, I guess it is, because he's become to terms with what he's done, and now he's gonna like learn the max force powers.
Sure.
But I think that Alec Guinness just version was like not ready to be involved, which I felt was more attuned to what Kenobi was in the beginning of this, as opposed to the end, where I feel like he would still be involved in something if something were to happen.
Yeah, and I mean the real issue too is that there's really only like 6 more years before he's Alec Guinness.
Yeah,
and that fight in A New Hope
is
rough.
A lot different from this episode.
Let's just say like Obi-Wan still has some moves. I mean, obviously he's slow to it. He kind of like has to get back on that horse, but like once he is, he's very much back in his like Jedi Knight, very like fight style and all this stuff. So it's like,
have you seen like the re-edited version of the fight? Like some fans like
made him like flip around and shit.
And like there was like not like flip around, but they're like just like doing more movements.
Yeah,
it's really good. My big thing, I thought what should happen, this is going back towards Rogue One, I thought if they like injured Obi-Wan, or not Obi-Wan, if they injured Vader for some reason, and that's why he's a little more stilted.
Well, Vader doesn't bother me because his fight style from when he was Anakin to Darth Vader makes perfect. Like, he is very much a
one swing.
I'm a juggernaut now. I just brute force kill you. That makes perfect sense. He's not doing the whole like twerking with my lightsaber behind my back Anakin like we know and love. And so I actually don't mind. Like, Vader feels like that suit would make him kind of just be
clunkier.
A Frankenstein kind of like just monster of just like, I'm just going to swing and they're going to be heavy hits. Cause like, first of all, I'm never exhausted. I'm only like 75% human now, you know, maybe less than that, you know, all these, robotic limbs. But yeah, I think that's just the hard sell of like, how much do you want this? Do you want it and have it kind of not make sense later on, but it at least exists?
Yeah.
And I will say, if that final scene didn't stick the landing, I would have said this was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah,
but
100%.
I think this was at least a really cool thought exercise of like, this adds so much more depth to that silly fight that's in the fourth one, at least, because you know there's so much more going on there. So.
And maybe you can be like, they're just being strategic and blah, 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 blah. Sure. Whatever.
Yeah. And he knew he was probably going to die anyway, so maybe he just kind of took a little off
like
of it.
Teased
but
him out,
Obi-Wan feels very old in that movie, and he feels like he's in his 40s in this show.
Yeah, and they're still like, haha, maybe like your grandchild.
Later,
it's like, he's not that old. Come on.
No. Ewan's probably like early 50s, but it's like he doesn't feel like.
Oh, but he's looking great.
Yep.
Have you seen the video of him like looking at sea otters?
No. What a specific question about Ewan McGregor. No, I don't.
He's like on a boat and he's like, look at them, sea otters. 3 of them right there.
He has a very interesting accent. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But he also,
that I completely nailed.
I think.
Sorry, Ewan, can you step out of the room real quick because Nick's trying to talk. Oh, sorry.
I don't even know what to say.
He has a unique accent, is that it?
Yeah. But I feel like his voice even started to get more towards the Alec Guinness. Like, he still has his like, hello there, but it's like, it's getting a little bit more.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's kind of got a sense of humor and stuff, so I mean, I think he's starting to become a little bit more like the old crazy man.
Yeah.
And not the Jedi Knight that is super serious.
I think if you spend all those years in the desert, you can get a little kooky.
Yeah.
Or just like
But I feel like they didn't do that with him. They made him just sad and quiet.
Yeah.
They didn't make him crazy. I think the only thing that they made him was like, I felt like sometimes he snapped at Leia a little too much. where I was like, that feels a little not Obi-Wan, but whatever. He's also not himself after 10 years of feeling guilt, so. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I do think because of the finale, I would still, like, say...
Was the show worth it? Yeah.
I would say if you, like, care about Star Wars, then the 6th episode is for you. If you don't care for Star Wars and you're like, maybe I would watch this, I don't know if I'd say you have to watch it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's required viewing.
No, I don't think this is like, you must see it, or this is what's going to get you into Star Wars. Yeah. But I think it is good. Mm-hmm. I think as a fan, I did enjoy it.
Yep.
I think there could have been more.
For sure. I think this definitely could have been required viewing, if not maybe like some of the best Star Wars we've ever had.
Yeah, this could have been top.
And I don't think that was unnecessary expectations. I think they chose the right actor. I think they chose the right thing to tackle, and I think they kind of forced some things. And this actually probably would have benefited as just Kenobi the movie.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was just like episode 3 and episode 6, and those were the movies.
Yeah,
and there was just some sort of other reason that he was saving Leia besides someone drawing him out like that. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, Reva would probably have to be cut from the movie. But like, I agree, there were some cool parts with her, but I think overall,
I think you could still have Reva in there,
or Reva, sorry,
and have her draw it out, but like have her like just have her not die in a different way.
Yeah,
I think you can still use Reva because you need a proxy. You need someone to not know that the kids are around.
Yeah.
And you need to draw Obi-Wan out and not know where he is. So you need someone to be the middle person to be like, I know where he is and I can draw him out, but then Vader comes in and it's like, oh, we're fighting on a different planet.
Yeah. The other thing I just want to mention too is like the one thing that just really killed me was the guy who played Roken, the like ship guy. He was kind of the captain of the rescue ship, or whatever.
He was cool.
Very cool, but like some of his stuff, his lines, they gave him more, I think, than what was originally scripted, because there were parts where he would be like, Obi-Wan, we're not going to make it out of this alive. And he's like, okay, well, then I'm going to have to give myself up. And he's like, okay. And then, like, he goes to give himself up, and then Roken comes back out and he goes, you can't give yourself up. We if we just have a little more time, the ship will work. And it's like, you just said the ship's not going to work. Like, he, like, back and forth did a lot. And so there's just a lot of that kind of going on where it's like, it's fine. It's just, like, little things like that.
Yeah, it is like, things like that where they're just buying time.
Like, it just kind of, after a while, it's like, I'm just exhausted. Can we let's just get to the fight. So by the time we got there, I was just so thirsty for, like, it, that when it hit, I was like, oh, this is the best. They did it. So, but yeah, there were just some like little disappointment things like that where I'm like, bummer.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that, and maybe it's nitpicky, but like I still feel like they could have just done a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, it's nitpicky if like it doesn't make some sense, but it makes some sense to other people.
If it wasn't like I don't know, the entire writing of the show.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like some of that's just like, this totally should have just been a movie or a 2-part miniseries or something. No. So anyway, we'll stop beating it.
Beating it like a
dead horse.
Yeah, some kind of Star Wars reference.
That was an interesting thing for me to say. We'll stop beating it. Anyway, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to stop talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, man. Well, you may have heard of two gentlemen discussing Hello There, Kenobi. But you haven't heard from us. Not us United.
All right. We'll see you later, everybody.
Bye. You've just listened to Not Us United. You can find us under Not Us United on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Please leave us a review and consider subscribing to our podcast. You can reach out for future podcast topic suggestions at notusunitedpod@gmail.com.